All right. Today I am here with Alex Jarbo. Alex is one of my clients in my mentorship program. He is specializing in short-term rentals, Airbnb ground up specifically. So neat little niche there. As many of you know, I started my career out in the short-term vacation rental business, but Alex was also a Marine. He served our country in the United States Marines, and he had a very interesting job in the Marines. Why don't you tell us what you did, Alex?
So I was a marcher in Eighth and I in Washington D.C. So like we were part of doing the funerals at Arlington Cemetery, and then any type of like dignitary that would come to the state, king, prince, other president, we'd escort them off of like Air Force One. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So how many hours did you spend rehearsing, every movement you had to make along the path?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, so usually a lot of the training or a lot of the stuff would probably mainly be done in the winter because summer was the busier season with both the funerals and like parade season. But I would say at least 6 to 7 hours a day in the winter, and then we would we would we would practice every morning on Friday and Tuesday, I think. But
Yeah.
and that was another like 5 to 6 hours. So hundreds of hours like put in by the time like we even step foot on the parade deck or like at Arlington Cemetery or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Well, thank you for your service. And as a
yeah.
former military man myself, I was in the Navy. We were always happy to give you guys a ride to fight for us. So thank you.
Yeah. The Navy's Uber or the
Drop
Marine
you off in
Corps
the battle.
Uber. There you go.
And launch I was on a battleship, so it was always nice to see those little projectiles coming over your head and kind of clearing a path for you. So we were happy to do that.
That's funny. Absolutely. Thanks.
You can fight smart or you can fight hard, right? So we fought smart.
We fought hard.
All right, cool. Well, we'll get into it. So, tell us a little bit about how you got started with, ground up Airbnb, short-term rentals, and what you're doing. And, the numbers are phenomenal on what you're seeing. Fascinating to me. I mean, we used to have to spend $1 million to get the kind of gross rental incomes that you're getting on, $250,000 projects. So let's dig in. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so again, I started in the Marine Corps, served there about 4.5 years. I had reached like a point in the Marine Corps where like I felt like I couldn't grow where I was at in the Marine Corps to the point where I wanted to. I was, like I said, I was an infantryman by trade, and I saw a lot of my friends and mentors sort of have like some marriage troubles. I wanted to get married when I was 22 or 23. And I didn't want to be one of those guys who was having marriage troubles in the military. Just like I said, just there was a lot of training in both with what I did, and then if I actually went to like a grunt unit, it was going to be even more. So during my last year of the military, I decided to like learn a lot about real estate during my free time, and I'd come across like a short-term rental investing YouTube channel. And I'd reached out to the host of that YouTube channel, and I just asked him like where he'd recommend investing. His properties were like mainly in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, so about like an hour away from me. He recommended a couple markets, and after showing them to my fiance at the time, we decided on Asheville. I moved here like the day I got out of the Marine Corps, and I had about like 8 months of expenses saved up. So like I was just gonna live off that while I was doing the real estate thing. I decided to get my real estate license when I moved here too. Started helping clients like purchasing and selling houses. Didn't really enjoy being an agent too much, so like I aggressively started to like look for a property to purchase with my VA loan. Like I was mainly looking for like either a duplex or like a house with like a detached mother-in-law suite, and where I could like live in one of the units and then rent out the other ones, which VA loans allow you to do now. I realized like very quickly like the listed properties on the market would do well as Airbnbs were either being bidded up like crazy, or they were just priced way out of my price range at the time. So this was back in like 2017. Now it's even crazier. But I decided to build my first property, my first investment property. So new construction was my first investment property. It was an 830 square foot A-frame. I couldn't use a VA loan for a new construction loan at the time. So I had found a lender that would allow me to do like about 10% down, which was still pretty good. And I was going to be married in like less than a year. So like it was like crunch time. So like I didn't have the money for the down payment, which was about like 15 grand. So I actually slept in my car in like a Walmart parking lot for like 3 months just to save up the money.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't
And
know that part.
But I mean, like coming from the Marine Corps, that was luxury. It was like having a roof over your head. So it's like,
That's funny. So is that a known thing with Walmart? Because you see that a lot. I mean, is that something they just people know, hey, you're allowed to stay here?
yeah. So I don't know how it works now with COVID, but when they were 24 hours, you can't kick. This is a rule. You can't be kicked. Like if you have like an RV, you can just park it in the back of a Walmart and sleep there.
Yeah,
I didn't
interesting.
know
Yeah.
that.
Anyways, a
Yeah,
little side note.
yeah. Yeah, but so that like you said, that property's been bringing in. We built that we've been renting it out for like 2 years now. That first property, it's been bringing in just an incredible cash flow. After I saw how good the cash flow was there, we like on building these unique properties. We decided to I decided to take on my first investor, and then we're building 10 cabins right now. I had contacted you after going through one of your courses because I was like looking for like a real estate development mentor, and there aren't really too many of those. So what you helped me realize was like my goals were just like too small. Was like I came to you like wanting to do like 30 cabins in the next like 5 years, and and only like what was it, like 3-4 months since we've been working together. We just started on that one, like looking at that 112 unit deal, that resort in Gatlinburg, and then we're working on that 40 unit one here in Asheville. I'd like to get into like 3 other markets in the next like year or so. And then
Yeah, and for everybody
after,
watching, so you're talking about Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area, the
yeah,
Smoky
yeah,
Mountains, and then Asheville, North Carolina, again, Smoky Mountain area.
right, like Blue Ridge Mountains and stuff.
Mhm.
What I realized after like raising money for those first couple deals was like a lot of investors are just eager to get into the short-term rental space, but are having like the same type of issues I was having through when I first started. So, and the competition is just so high right now, and these properties are just bid it up to a point where they're barely profitable, like barely profitable compared to like long-term rentals. Like the numbers are almost like the same in some areas. So like by taking on investors now, we're able to like develop, manage these short-term rental Airbnb resort communities, while at the same time like offering our investors like a double-digit above than average return. What I realized in the last 4 months is like working on these like larger resort type properties and pooling together investor capital to help do these deals is just the overall like best use of my time. So that's
Yeah,
essentially
yeah,
the
and it's a
story at
pretty
it.
Yeah, and I mean it's a pretty solid business model. So what I loved about short-term rentals, again, that's where I started, but the ratios were very different. We were spending, like I said, you're getting 90,000 a year gross on these little cabins, something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
80,000
Yeah,
gross. Yeah,
for
81.
us,
Yeah, yeah.
that was a 6 or 7 bedroom semi oceanfront house that you had to put almost $1 million into with pool and hot tub and elevator and all the amenities and everything to get that kind of gross rent. And then you spend,
And that was a
you
couple
probably got the
decades
same
ago.
expense ratio, but with management, you'd spend about 40% of that. But anyways, what I like about short-term rentals versus year-round rentals, like you talked about, is that there's no evictions, there's no collections, and there's no vacancies. Now you might have empty weeks, but then that's when you can go use the property. So it's just part of the business plan. So like the
Right.
properties where I was at, we would do 28 weeks a year. So you'd have the rest of the year in the off season that you could go and enjoy the property. And, a lot of people, did that, but they were break evens. By the time you put 20% down on those properties, if you were buying one or building it, you had to put 10-20% down, you'd be breaking even, but, it would pay for itself. So a lot of people used it as an annuity,
Right.
and some of them would retire in them after, 20-30 years when they were paid off, things like that. But, when you and I started talking and the cash flows that you're bringing in on those, it's just incredible.
Yeah, so something about like just building those unique properties. And this was a couple years ago, what I realized was like, just like how rented out my, like Airbnb was new-ish 3-4 years ago, like, and like you could put anything on Airbnb and it would do well. And now it's like you have these people who are building these cabins, and like seeing like just looking for more unique properties. And it's like you see these investors that are just coming into these markets and just purchasing any type of house, and just putting it on Airbnb. And I think that'll do well in the next like 2 or 3 years, but it's slowly starting to shift into like these cabins, A-frames, unique type of stays.
Yeah. So let's take a look at your listing for the house so people can kind of see what you're doing, and then we'll
Yeah,
dig into the
absolutely.
numbers a little bit.
Yeah, so this was,
And for everybody watching, we'll put your website and contact info in the notes so that
yeah,
people can,
absolutely.
check out your website, reach out to you that are looking to invest or, want to get involved in what you're doing.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah, it looks
So
good.
yeah, so this was our first one. This is the one I was mentioning. Again, we're building 10 right now, but I mean, just in a couple of years, we've rented it out. These aren't all of our guests, but we've had 172 reviews here, average rating of 4.94 there. But just building these very unique A-frames, cabins, barn type of houses, what we're doing now. Again, I said this is only 830 square foot, but it's very spacious on the inside.
Mhm.
So here's the inside.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and a nice little open floor plan. This can sleep 6 people. We try to take it.
Wow.
There's a washer dryer in the property, plumbed, and then you got that little loft up there. The sleeper sofa is a queen, and then you have a bed in the background. Full kitchen there. And then we utilize pocket doors for any door inside, and no doors open into the house. Just
So
again,
this
to
one is a
optimize.
1 bedroom with a loft.
Yeah, 1 bedroom
Okay.
with a loft.
And 1 bathroom.
And 1 bathroom. Yeah. So we're building 2 more A-frames next to this one, and one of them is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Just because like 6 people with 1 bathroom. That was one thing that we have seen, like the guests had asked for, like if there was one extra bathroom. But when we purchased this property, we got a really good deal on the land too. So it was like 4
Yeah.
acres, beautiful, like right on top of the hill. We have a beautiful 180 mountain sunrise and sunset, winter and summer sunset. So yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
that's our first project. So essentially what we're doing now, I mentioned like the 30, 40 units here, is like we essentially want to take this property, change the outside a little bit for each one, and just essentially do like have this be the spec home, and just do this in a community, but just do A-frames, because these properties will rent out all day. It's like we're priced around what a normal hotel room would be, like right now about 206 a night. This changes every day based off the rental demand of the market, but like this is about what you would pay for maybe a little bit more than a nice hotel room. But it's like, would you rather pay for a hotel room, or would you rather pay for a house that 6 of your family members can all stay in? And
Yeah.
I think all day that people will be choosing this over a hotel room, especially Asheville. The mountain type communities are driving cities. Like our airport only has like 4 gates. So like most of the people are used to driving. This cabin's about 15 minutes away from downtown. And we've never had anyone complain about the drive like to and from the cabin. So
Yeah, I like the multiple bedroom, multiple bath model. That was
Yeah.
one of the more profitable models down on the beach. Was 3 bedroom, two bath model. And then we did, the giant oceanfront houses too. That some of the houses I did down there, I did a 16 bedroom, some 12 bedrooms, and then my sweet spot was an 8 bedroom oceanfront. They would do 175 to 400,000 a year in rent is what they're doing. Now actually they're doing 250. The 8 bedroom oceanfronts, up. The 12 bedrooms are doing probably 400, and that 16 bedroom does about 500,000 in rent. But a little different model there. But I've got that little subdivision that you're working on.
Okay.
You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me do a screen share here, and I'll go ahead and pull that up real quick. So you had mentioned this 32 building, 112 units is laid out right now that you're working on. And yeah, when you and I started, you're like, yeah, I'd like to build 30 of these over the next 5 years. I'm like, well, why don't we do 30 here in the next few months? And
Yeah, right. And then I had set a goal for like 160 cabins for this year. And then it was like the next day, my agent brought me this. I'm like, okay, I got to redo my goals again.
yeah, so this is cool. So this is one of the projects we're working on together, and I'm helping you kind of vet this out. That you're obviously, once you get to a certain point, you'll have some investment opportunities here for people to come invest with you. But this one is laid out for 32 buildings, 16 6-unit buildings, 16 single families, and you can see that these little pink looking footprints are the single families, and then the multi-unit buildings are all around. But this is a concept that you're exploring not just here, but on smaller parcels where you've got 6 or 8 or 10, and doing some amenities and things like that. So bigger groups can come, and this would be more like a horizontal hotel property, resort property. So we're seeing more and more of these types of things pop up, and it's really interesting. And this one is fully entitled, pretty much ready for permits to break ground. Here's the cabin designs here. of how they look for the single family and the multifamily. So, that could be a pretty exciting little project for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's only 6 acres that all
Mhm.
those sit on. So you don't really need these massive parcels that we were looking at here. Like that property specifically is only like what 4 miles away from downtown Gatlinburg. And very, very easy access is my biggest thing. It's like making sure you're sending like hundreds of people through that community every day, that you want to make sure that there's some sort of easy access where they're not driving down like a gravel road for 20 minutes in a new area. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. And,
very
that's,
excited about that.
that layout's a cluster development too. So you've got a lot of exit options there. You can just keep them and rent every one of them. You can, sell them, in a horizontal development, cluster development like that. It's a land condo basically. So the owner
Right.
owns the structure and the pad they're sitting on. Then you have common area takes care of everything else. So you could sell, individual units. And then if you wanted to, you could condo out the 4-unit buildings and sell, condo units in those 4 to 6-unit buildings as well. So multiple exit strategies, or you could sell the entire thing, get it all
The whole
done,
thing for
built
the
up,
cash flow.
and sell the entire thing as a income producing asset in and of itself. So a lot of opportunity there, and I'm sure you'll have some information about that on your website for people that want to get more information and learn how they can invest and things like that in that project.
Yeah, absolutely. So we said we were going to link my website, but my website is sargoninvestments.com, SARGON investments with an S.com. There's a invest now button on the website. Yeah, anyone listening can just go through and just fill out that thing real quick, and it'll give you a link to my calendar, and then we can schedule something, talk about that.
Cool. Yeah. And you've got
Yep.
different opportunities for people to invest with you, like in your multi-unit properties, as well as like, what if somebody says, hey, I just want to do one cabin, one project, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, we like to tailor we're pretty flexible. We can do 1 or 2 cabins at a time, or it all depends like how much risk that the investor is comfortable with, and just what they want to do and how much capital they want to contribute. Yeah, we're pretty flexible in doing that. We can talk about that during the call.
Awesome.
Yep.
So for people looking at the Airbnb, so what have you learned? What are you finding, are some of the things, that are best practices, things like that? Any kind of tips that you can, provide to people that are looking at this niche?
Yeah, a couple things. One, automation is getting easier and easier, where it's become easier for people to be able to manage these properties themselves if they're looking to do them themselves. But also if they're looking to invest in different markets, it's becoming easier and easier. Like there's tools out there like messaging automation. And then the second thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people are coming off of the Airbnb, and it's almost like going full circle now, where they're coming off VRBO and Airbnb and trying to do this like through direct bookings, where they're building out their own websites and stuff. So I would say just for people who are looking to do this themselves, is like really focus on like the direct booking side. But like if you're looking to invest with a manager or a syndicator, is that I think I'm seeing this is where hospitality is going now, is like this more like curated, unique properties, like like resort type communities in the mountains, or like getaways and stuff a little bit further out from the city. If for people who are like looking to do this themselves, and it's like, oh, well, I live too far away from the mountains. So if you're looking to do your first project by yourself, like I'd recommend staying within the city. That like maybe an hour or two. Every city has their own little pocket where it's like people maybe an hour or two away from you. Think about like where people in your area or where you would vacation that's an hour away from you. And that's usually like a better market to get into than say like try to get into like a downtown market, or like building out these properties in the city or something.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Zoning, rules, regulations, all that's important, because not every city, every county, is allowing short-term rentals. Not every subdivision, you've got covenants and restrictions on, short-term rentals and things like that, vacation rentals.
Good example. Good 2 examples of that is like San Diego and New York. It's like you can't do Airbnb. New York City, you can't do Airbnb in either one of those cities. But if you go like Big Bear Lake, hour or 2 north there, and then the Catskills like 2 hours north in New York, like you can do that you can do
all of them. Yeah, those are resort areas. That's where people, that's what they do. So it's really interesting. Yeah, it's funny. It makes zero sense to me. Why? Well, the hotel lobby, the hotel industry's lobbying against it in cities and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. But that's another tip I always tell people: if you're just getting started, go, if you want to buy something, invest where, resort rentals have always existed. It's always been a thing. It's a short-term rental market. That's where I came from, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That's where the Wright brothers took off. And, that's always been a short-term vacation summer destination. The problem with that market is it's a very short season. You only get 28 weeks, whereas your
Right.
market, how many weeks do you rent a year in your
We're rented
properties?
year round. Like we were talking before this, we're rented year round, but like right now we just had a little bit of snow, but that only set us back like a week. Like I think my occupancy for last year was 98%, and that 2% was only days that we had booked on our schedule just to do some maintenance on the property.
Yeah, that's insane. Like I said, these, my area where we were at, it was just primarily summer. You get a little bit of off-season rentals, but very few bookings in the off-season. And the off-season really is only around the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, and then you might get a little traffic at Easter, mostly homeowners coming down, a few visitors, but
Yeah.
a lot of these other areas, you want to find areas, like where Alex is, that's more, year round, where you have a higher occupancy, versus, these, beach areas that nobody's going to in the winter. So a lot of the Florida beaches are more year round. A lot of people are booking stuff year round there. So it's really interesting. But so you mentioned something. So you said people are moving, off of Airbnb and VRBO, and they're just doing their own website with their own.
So what I'm seeing with the managers, like the people who are managing more than like 2 or 3, is they are trying to take their guests off the online travel agencies, the OTAs, onto their own platforms. Mainly, one of the reasons is Airbnb and VRBO's usually pretty close behind them when it comes to like Airbnb raised their fees like 2 or 3 times during COVID, their servicing fees. So like usually a guest will pay about 15% service fee outside of the cleaning fee, and then the host will just pay 3%. So that 15% can add up pretty quickly. Say if like a guest is booking like a $2,000 booking, like I mean, I've seen fees go up like $700-800 just on one booking. It's like a no value to the guest, in my opinion. Now, like obviously every business is going to have their own fees and everything, but that's what some guests are taking or some hosts are taking their guests off the platform, and then offering them like a lower service fee of like 5% or something.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see the trend and where that ultimately goes. Like, the industry coming full circle. So when I
It is coming
started, there
full
was
circle.
no
Yeah.
VRBO,
Right.
there was no Airbnb. You had rental companies that, in essence, they managed the property for people. They had their own websites, and everybody knew if you wanted to go stay on the Outer Banks, you had to, look at the different rental companies, and that's
Right.
where you found properties. And there were a few people that had their own website that rented their own properties, and they still do. There's still people that, has a little sign out front, 123 Beach Road, and you go to the
They
website.
have the
But
same. They have the same 100 guests that have been going there for like
yeah,
5-10 years. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see if there's more of a trend towards that, and how Airbnb and VRBO kind of, adapt their business model to keep you on their platform,
Right.
but at a much more cost effective rate. But the other downside, to using professional property management, which is what I used, I never managed any of my own properties, and I owned a bunch of them down there over the years. But you pay 15 to 20%
Yeah.
management
In
fees,
this
but
area,
they
it's about
handle everything.
25.
They handle
Right.
the whole 9 yards.
And that's part of our model a little bit, is like our fee, it ranges a little bit, but it's nowhere near the 15 to 25%. Going back to the taking the guests off. So I just want to be clear here. So the way we do it, you can't like go directly to the guest who reaches out through the platform and be like, yo, here's my website, like book through here. That's a big no-no. You can get kicked off the platforms for doing that. We have an email capture like type thing in the property, where like, say if you go to the airport or like to the mall, you have to like sign into the Wi-Fi of Starbucks to use their Wi-Fi. That's what we have. We have like a specific landing page that all the guests have to sign into the Wi-Fi to be able to use it. Just put their email address in. That protects us if they're trying to do anything like weird like sketchy on the internet. But we also get their email that way, and then that goes directly to either whatever email provider you use, but we use MailChimp, and then we can remarket through them that way. Like, hey, you booked through Airbnb that last time, but you can save this much money if you do it through us, or just sending out like maybe 3 or 4 emails a year of just like, okay, like we're 3 months away from Valentine's Day, we're going to send out an email saying like, hey, you can book directly through us. So that's how we
Well,
handle it.
that also helps too if you're ever going to sell the property, because the other
There you go.
downside to Airbnb and VRBO is when you sell the property, the reviews and the previous guests don't go with the
Right.
property. It's like, makes zero sense to me. The traditional property management, all that conveys,
Right.
the bookings, everything, it just switches over. The fact that Airbnb can't make that happen is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and like think about like if you're selling the property to an investor, you can some businesses, like online businesses specifically, like companies are purchasing their customer list. So it's like, imagine like you can present that to a potential buyer and be like, I already have a customer list for this property. Like here it is. Like you can like you don't even have to worry about Airbnb. Like you can just give that.
Yeah,
to
or
them.
use Airbnb, and then you can
Right.
recontact people and send them, hey, here's the new listing. Please go put your reviews in, and do all that. So
Right.
a lot of people, that's a great little tip there that a lot of people probably aren't thinking about. That email capture, for website or internet access, to be able to communicate with people in the future, and then obviously the value add if you're going to sell the property down the road.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, cool. Well, Alex, I appreciate you taking some time out and sharing with us what you're doing. And again, you're looking for people. You have opportunities for people to invest with you, and we're going to put your website information down below so they can go check it out and reach out to you and sign up in your investor portal, and be able to stay informed on what you have going on and coming down the pike for them to jump into.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, we have those investment opportunities. We have some loan guarantor opportunities as well. Yeah, super excited about working on these like bigger projects. So, and
Yeah, awesome.
Couldn't have done it without you, man.
Yeah, yeah, we will revisit this once you start breaking ground on some, and also you have your YouTube channel on your website as well for people to follow your progress, and you're doing videos on the progress and things.
Yeah, just exactly what we like, just snippets of like what we talked about, like on this stuff, just expanded on the YouTube channel. So
awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, sounds good. We will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.